Welcome back to this series of chats with various telecom executives. This is Terry Sweeney with Light Reading. I am joined now by Jeff Reed, who is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Cloud and Network Security business for Cisco. Jeff, welcome to the program here.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
We're here to talk about SASE and the prominent place it's certainly taken in the headlines. What's driving the uptake? What are some of the market drivers that have made this technology so prominent?
Yeah, so really, I think about it is the way that users and things connect to applications and data is changing. So clearly we're in a distributed workforce. I'm here in a garage. Our applications and data have moved to the cloud. And as such, where we put security controls and the type of security controls that we're delivering, we're kind of rethinking that. And so as that's happened, it turns out that given so much traffic is headed towards the cloud, that thinking about, can I put those controls there, becomes a really attractive place because it allows easy kind of delivery of security across a broad set of use cases within an environment. So that's, to me, that's that big kind of underlying thing.
Is it helpful to think of SASE as possibly a firewall basically for cloud networking?
Plus is what I would say, Terry. Yeah. So firewall is part of that, secure web gateway functionality. So proxy, URL filtering, et cetera. You can think of CASB controls, what should I be able to do on box or not do on box, and what types of things should I be able to download or upload, et cetera. So that's and I think it's this big piece. And then it's not just actually security. It's also things because you want your users to be able to connect securely, but also you want to deliver a great user experience. So it's bringing in, how do we think about what's the networking set of capabilities that should be here in that cloud? And how do we, make sure that great latency through things like middle mile optimization and availability of the networking side is I think really important as well.
It sounds like you're talking about the back-end processes that groom the bandwidth and the data stream, those sorts of things.
Yeah, where do I sit? What path is best to use traffic and such? Exactly.
Good stuff. Talk a bit about the use cases for SASE. You mentioned a few of them just a few minutes ago, but where is the sweet spot? Where are customers really using this in effective ways?
Yeah, so a couple key drivers. So I really see kind of three areas. So one is SD-WAN. So as customers deliver SD-WAN and they want to enable things like direct internet access, I prefer not to have to backhaul all my traffic to my D and Z where I've had those security controls historically. So can I use maybe a cloud service as a way for me to ensure I've got good security, but also allowing me to send traffic directly to the internet, for example. So that was kind of, to me, one of the first big drivers for that. The second is clearly just the distributed workforce. So now I've got roaming users everywhere. How do I make sure that as they do that, they're protected, they're not doing stupid stuff on the internet? So that's a big use case, and kind of aligned both of those is I see some customers just do it straight from a security efficacy perspective. So, they're having problem with malware within their environment, and they think that things like DNS security can be a really effective added layer, delivered from the cloud, real quick time to value. So that's another thing that I see with the customers that we work with.
Thanks. That's some great context. Talk a bit, if you would, about how Cisco is working. Talk a bit, if you would, about how Cisco is working directly with service providers with regard to SASE implementations and some of the issues that may arise.
Yeah. So issues never arise, Terry. I mean, come on.
That's other vendors' equipment.
Yeah. So I think a couple things. One is I mentioned around, it's not just security, it's also networking and SD-WAN. So we've had historically a really strong relationship with service providers and, what they do from a routing perspective and SD-WAN environment as well. And in fact, just before this call, I was in a meeting with the service provider that they do a lot of our Catalyst 8K, formerly known as Viptela and Meraki MX sales. And we're working with them to how can we extend that footprint to include security, through, Cisco umbrella as part of those. So that actually fits really well. Other ones we're seeing is you taking aspects of SASE and delivering it in an easy way to a very broad set of customers. So we have service providers that are essentially attaching DNS security to their small and medium business customers at hundreds of thousands of customers getting that benefit because it's so easy. And the great thing about service providers is they can bring that into the customer environment essentially transparently. So it's really, really simple for those customers. Service providers are essentially differentiating through the additional security controls that they can bring to a very large set of customers across their environments. And an example of that is we just a couple weeks ago announced a relationship with Verizon that is doing exactly that. So essentially improving the security on every link that they're selling into their kind of smaller business environments.
What would you say to a service provider who's examining the SASE concept and considering deployment? What sorts of issues typically arise with carriers who may be reluctant to embrace emerging technology like this?
Yeah, so the good news is I think most of them are pretty far down the path. What I've seen is the value proposition. And we talk at Cisco kind of on we mentioned these kind of 3 C's of the value of why SASE. One is helping customers connect their users and workforce, by delivering kind of seamless connection to applications. Second is around this idea of control. So how do they simplify security, policy enforcement, et cetera, by combining all these multiple functions into a single service? And lastly, converging both the security side and the networking side. And so I think SPs, I'm not actually having to sell SPs on why SASE. It's really about, how can we like easily move their customer base onto this, and be it attaching to SD-WAN projects or attaching it to just, the kind of classical service that they're delivering. Like all those are good opportunities for SPs to add additional value to the customer base.
Jeff, it's some great context. Really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us today.
Oh, thanks, Terry. Really enjoyed it.
We've been talking with Jeff Reed of Cisco's Cloud and Network Security Business Group. Jeff, thanks again for joining us. This has been Terry Sweeney for Light Reading. Thanks again.